It's a personal one. What inspired you to become a writer?
I was expecting something a little bit more personal. You said that. It's the accent. It sounds like you're going somewhere. As cheesy as it sounds, I've always wanted to be a writer. When my first thing I ever wrote was really bad poetry on my bedroom walls in permanent marker. And for some reason, my parents could never get rid of it. They would paint over it and it would seep through. And so it kind of reminded me like a horror film. It just kept coming back, and whoever lives in the house now probably had a wallpaper over it. But I always wanted to be a writer, but it was when I was about 13 or 14. Back in the day in the United States, we used to have a bookstore called Walden Books, and they had a YA section that was maybe the size of 2 of these end caps. That was it when I was a teenager. And they had R.L. Stine, Christopher Pike, but they also had L.J. Smith. L.J. Smith wrote The Vampire Diaries back in the 90s. And she also wrote The Secret Circle and The Forbidden Game. Those 3 books made me want to be a writer because they were the first things that was fictional that I read that made me like cry. And who has read The Forbidden Game in here? Okay, Julian. Always have a place in my heart. And the original Vampire Diaries, when it ended in the 3rd book, there wasn't a 4th book, and how the 3rd book ended, I was like, what the hell? So it was, after reading those, I wanted to do that. I wanted to, to provoke that kind of emotion and take people away.
And would you say that was what drew you to writing YA fiction then, that you wanted to inspire younger people in the same way as you've been inspired?
Yes, yeah. Yes, definitely.
Because you write adult fiction as well. But what would you say, which was your bigger love, if I can ask you that?
It would always be YA. YA would always be the thing I think I always go back to. And I may jump around and write contemporary YA or paranormal or fantasy, but YA has always been kind of my favorite playing ground with it.
Okay, right. And when it came to the Lux series, what I really want to know about that is why aliens? Because of course we've got so many vampires, so much about
too many vampires.
Yeah, exactly. You can never have too many vampires.
No, I live there. I'm from Romania.
Oh, that's awesome.
So aliens is a really, really different take for the reader. So why did you choose to write something about aliens?
Well, there's an interesting little story behind that. I had finished writing Unchained, and I actually wrote Unchained, the 2nd or 3rd book I ever wrote. And I had turned it in to my editor at the publisher, and my publisher had made this joke to me saying, since you can write books super fast, have you ever, thought about writing about aliens in high school? And I laughed and said, no, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then I hung up the phone, basically was like, this conversation's over. And I got off, but then I started thinking about it. I was like, aliens in high school? I'm like, what would you do with aliens in high school? So I called her back and I'm like, what do you mean aliens in high school? And she's like, I don't know, I just want something that has aliens in high school. And editors will do that a lot. They'll call up, if you're working with them, they'll be like, I want zombies in love. And, and you'd be like, what? And then not that Warm Bodies was created like that, but you know what I mean? Like it was, then, you start thinking about it and you're like, maybe I can do this. So that's all she said. She was like, I just want to see aliens in high school. And come to find out later on in the process, she was a huge Roswell fan back in the day. So she was apparently Netflixing it at that time, and she just had her head in aliens. So I said, I thought about it, and I was like, I can't do 2 science fiction. I was like, I'm not smart enough to pull that off. And, because science fiction, there has to be at least some logic and reasoning to that. And the Lux series has absolutely no logic or reasoning to it. But some of the stuff turned out to be true, and I did not know that about the stone.